But the league may not be coming to the table with that stuff. Look at that. Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff had a bad contract. It was smaller than Watson's, but he's considered not worthy of it at this point. 2 firsts and a third, guys. To get Matthew Stafford back has a better deal, but still. And Matthew Stafford's a very good quarterback, but he hasn't been a great quarterback. 2 firsts and a third. The Texans are saying, let's start the bidding at 3 firsts. That's not the ceiling, that's the floor. And I'm guessing that they're not getting the kind of offers that they want because the entire league knows this is a distressed asset, like with Harden in Houston, right? They have to act as though they want to keep him. First of all, they really may want to keep him. As poisoned as the well may be, they may be thinking, look, let's see, it's a new regime. Let's see if we can patch things up because he's a great player and that's who you're looking for. But in the event that they really can't, they have to make it seem like they don't want to move him or they will not be getting the best offers for teams. I can't blame them for doing it.
I agree. I understand what you're saying about pushing the value up. The only thing that I don't like, Max, is the newness of this situation and people speaking on that situation with Caserio and obviously the new head coach. And this issue, and I've been screaming at the people that this issue is about Deshaun Watson and Cal McNair and ownership. So as much as the antics are going on with the Houston Texans, whether we want to let Deshaun Watson go or we want to keep him and we know the transgressions and fixing these things, ownership ain't changing, man. And that's the part that I keep trying to scream to everybody. Like, we could talk about all of these little nuanced things. Deshaun Watson has a fundamental problem with the owner of the Houston Texans and how things have transpired. You could have said Bill O'Brien because we saw Bill O'Brien trade away DeAndre Hopkins and we saw them actually play some good football, but also not get over the hump with Bill O'Brien. Could have been angry about that, and we could have deflected to that particular situation. But you removed Bill O'Brien, and you brought in new everything, and now you have these new guys speaking on Deshaun Watson, and we're not interested in trading him and all of that. You're right. They're not interested in trading him. Nobody should be interested in trading a future generational type talent at the quarterback spot. But the fundamental problem is between two structures that are not changing. The ownership of the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson. So how they're handling it, to me, I have a problem because it's not Cal McNair saying we want to keep Deshaun Watson. It's not Cal McNair out front saying I do not want Deshaun Watson to leave and what we need to do. What do we need to do in order to keep him on this team? Everybody else under him is speaking about this situation. And I get it. Protocols and they in that position to speak. Max, damn all of that. We all know. You know, I know, Molly knows, everybody knows that where the problem lies. And until that, Cal McNair, the owner of the Houston Texans, comes out and says this publicly, it's irreparable. I think it's irreparable anyway, but all of this talking from people within the Texans organization about what they want to do and don't want to do and the value for Deshaun Watson is moot. It's a moot point because Deshaun Watson's fundamental problem, again, is not with them.
Well, look, I think we could spin it forward and ask this question legitimately. Does it come to an impasse where Deshaun Watson misses a season in the middle of his prime? Because if this is not his prime, good Lord, because he's already, you say a future great quarterback, you're right, he should have a long future if he avoids injury, knock wood, but a present great generational quarterback. Deshaun has elevated his level, I think, to that Mahomes and Rodgers, and you have to include Brady still now, like that elite level this year. We have to ask this question, spinning it forward. The one thing I really haven't gotten into with Deshaun, because he's a quarterback and he has such value, especially with this, what Stafford got, what was in the Goff trade. You think they wouldn't pass that up, a chance to rebuild. You think about Herschel Walker trade, how that built the Cowboys. But the one thing I haven't really gotten into, Le'Veon Bell sat out a whole season. And Pittsburgh could have gotten compensation for him, I think, if they would have moved him. But it seemed to me more important to the team and the league that they send players a message. You're not in control. We are. And I wonder if it comes to that, particularly given the kind of flashpoint of this fractured relationship in terms of Deshaun and let's say Cal McNair, where considering the kind of social political divide here, that management, that ownership wants to send a message to labor. And by the way, it is white ownership and black labor. There's no way of getting around that. You are not in charge. Stay in your lane. We will cut off our nose to spite our face in this case because it has long-term benefits to the power structure, keeping everybody in check in their place. And if it gets to that point, is Deshaun willing to sit out a season? That's going to be very interesting to see, and hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Max, I think bro, genius. All right, that is where we are. We are at the precipice of player empowerment, and that is what that is what ownership is going to fight against. Right? Even beyond that, like Carson Wentz requesting a trade in Philly and looking like that's going to transpire. They're starting to see this NBA type mentality creep in, but players are also starting to see, where is this organization going? Do they have me in a good situation to play? And look, we talking about this because we're talking about Deshaun Watson, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think Deshaun Watson can become a face for what this is when this happens, because it's irreparable. I'm telling you, he is not going to be a Houston Texan. He would sit out in order not to play for them, I believe.
Yeah, I know there's many layers to this, guys, and it's probably deeper than this, but one other element that can't help is he didn't have any protection. He's one of 3 quarterbacks that was hit 500 times, and we talked about that. I know it got a little bit better the last couple of years, but he was just getting dogged out there, and you talk about his longevity and his career, so you can't be excited about that either with the Houston Texans organization. We'll leave it there. When we come back here on...